What is Château de Purnon and what is it to become? Is it a museum locked in its 18th century time capsule, great to gaze at but impossible for modern living? Is it just a shell, stripped inside by each generation trying to create contemporary living spaces? The answer to this question lies in striking the perfect balance. If we change too much, then the elegance, spirit, and history of this awe-inspiring place will be lost. But if Château de Purnon ceases to be a home, it will eventually be abandoned and neglected and risk being lost forever. Just as Purnon was when we arrived almost 6 years ago. Now, for the first time in decades, the magnificent roof is watertight. And the serious work of restoring the interiors can really begin. This week, we share the work in 2 very different rooms and explore the question of how the chateau's interiors can preserve history and heritage, but also provide the possibility for practical modern living. Over the past 5 years, we've shared with you the journey of the billiard room, from solving the mystery of the room's original purpose to discovering the oldest billiard table in France, discarded in the chateau attic. We've shared with you each step of the restoration of this epic room, the rotted oak frame, the lattice work, the render with its human hair, and finding the perfect colour match to the 18th century finish. It's all been happening step by step, gradually, in conjunction with the restoration of the chateau roof and facades. This week, our artisans sought the warmth of working inside to progress the restoration of this spectacular room, the largest room in the chateau.
On a commencé donc du coup à restaurer la charpente qui a été faite par Métier du Bois. Une fois que la charpente a été restaurée, donc du coup nous on s'est retrouvé avec la structure brute de charpente. Donc du coup comment on a fait pour pouvoir mettre en place notre enduit de fond de forme, donc en fait notre dégrossi. Donc en fait on est tout simplement venu fixer du latis châtaignier, donc qui est fendu à la main par un petit artisan. On est venu fixer donc du coup à l'aide de clous avec intervalles réguliers, tout en gardant un espace bien défini pour que en fait notre corps d'enduit puisse venir englober une bonne partie de notre latis. Donc en gros, si on prend un exemple, on va avoir notre latis qui va être ici. Quand nous on va mettre en place notre enduit, l'objectif c'est que notre enduit en fait il vienne englober donc du coup notre latis chaîne, pour vraiment créer un support assez dur pour notre phase de finition. Donc là, après, on était sur quelque chose de bien particulier. Donc en fait, on est vraiment sur une zone qui a vraiment eu énormément de dégâts avec la pluie. Hein, donc en fait, ça a commencé à fuir au niveau du dôme. Ça a suivi l'enduit plâtre donc, qui s'est complètement décollé. Il s'est décollé, il est tombé, la fuite a continué, elle est passée au niveau du 2e étage, 1er étage, jusqu'au rez-de-chaussée au niveau de la cage d'escalier, ce qui a fait en fait énormément de dégâts sur toute la longueur. Donc nous aujourd'hui, on a restauré cette partie-là, donc on a fallu vraiment purger la totalité donc du coup des enduits plâtre et donc du coup des lattis, etc. Donc on a vraiment retiré la totalité. Restauration de charpente, mise en place de lattichaine. Donc après on a mis en place notre corps d'enduit. Notre corps d'enduit qui est fait donc du coup de sable des bois, donc du coup le sable de la région, qui est un enduit qui a énormément de fines, donc en fait qui va vraiment donner une impression d'onctuosité assez importante, qu'on est venu mélanger donc du coup avec de la chaux, et dans laquelle on a incorporé donc du coup de la fibre naturelle. Donc en l'occurrence, fibre naturelle, ça peut être du poil d'animaux, poil de gibier. Et là, sur cette particularité-là, c'est que donc du coup, on a reproduit ce qui se faisait vraiment à l'époque, donc du coup de la construction du château, on a mis du cheveu. Voilà, donc qui est aujourd'hui est lavé, et bien avec lesquels on travaille certains coiffeurs qui nous permettent d'en récupérer. Ce qui nous a créé de permettre de créer une fibre à l'intérieur de notre mortier, ce qui va énormément faciliter à englober notre lattis en châtaignier. Je me répète, mais on va remettre en place notre lattis châtaignier, donc fixé sur la structure de la charpente. On va mettre une première couche de mortier pour vraiment créer un support plus ou moins uniforme, pour après vraiment venir finir donc du coup la forme voulue avec une deuxième couche. Parfois on en mettra 3, tout dépendra en fait des différentes épaisseurs qu'on pourra rencontrer en comparaison avec l'ancien enduit. Une fois qu'on a effectué ça, on le laisse sécher, on viendra le retravailler une fois sec pour donner cet aspect-là. Donc en fait cet aspect-là, il est à la fois assez rugueux pour maintenir notre finition et à la fois assez lisse pour ne pas avoir de trop grosses aspérités qui risqueraient de ressortir dans notre finition. Donc une fois qu'on a atteint cette étape-là, donc c'est-à-dire tout le procédé que j'ai énoncé en amont, on arrive à cette étape-là, donc en fait on remarque qu'il y a des fissures donc, dans le corps d'enduit. Nous ça c'est ce qu'on recherche, parce que ça veut dire que donc du coup notre lattis châtaignier a fini de travailler derrière notre corps d'enduit, ce qui va en fait empêcher la fissuration de notre enduit de finition qu'on va pouvoir mettre en place par la suite. Ce qui serait quand même assez dommageable quand on veut un rendu très propre. Donc pour notre enduit de finition, donc, on a procédé à notre corps d'enduit, on est dans cet état-là. On va venir dépoussiérer et humidifier notre corps d'enduit pour mettre après en place notre finition à base de chaux en pâte. Donc pour le dégrossi, on va travailler avec de la chaux en poudre, et pour l'enduit de finition, on va travailler avec de la chaux en pâte. Donc en fait, c'est tout simplement de la chaux qui est restée humide et qui est extrêmement onctueuse. Donc dans cette chaux, on va venir teinter à l'aide de pigments naturels, parce que donc, du coup la chaux de base est blanche. On va venir teinter à l'aide de pigments naturels pour pouvoir vraiment se rapprocher de la couleur initiale du vieil enduit. Donc en fait, donc là on a un exemple, donc là on a le vieil enduit, et là donc du coup on a ce qu'on appelle un échantillon, pour que ce soit évidemment validé par l'architecte et par Félicité et Tim. Voilà. Donc après, voilà, on a un échantillon de la finition. Donc c'est une finition qu'on va reproduire sur la totalité donc, du coup, des réparations qu'on a pu faire sur l'enduit. Après, on va procéder à un gros nettoyage global du dôme. Les petites réparations au niveau des fissures, où du coup, en fait, on va venir insérer de la chaux, donc si possible à la truelle. Et si ce n'est pas possible, on viendra utiliser des seringues pour pouvoir vraiment réinjecter de la chaux dans ces fissures-là, pour venir essayer de recoller donc, du coup, les petits endroits qui auraient risqué de cloquer avec le taux d'humidité important qu'il y a pu y avoir à cause des fuites au niveau du toit. Après, on viendra faire ce qu'on appelle en fait un badigeon d'harmonisation. Donc c'est pareil, c'est une sorte de peinture à base de chaux qu'on va venir pareil teinter pour uniformiser vraiment la totalité du dôme.
It will now take about a month for the restored render to fully dry before our stonemasons can continue their work here in Purnon's 18th century billiard room. Hey babe.
Hey. So we're in this small room and it's on the southern side of the chateau, so it gets all this wonderful sun coming through this relatively small window here.
Yeah, it's so beautiful right now, isn't it, with the light coming in, which is exactly what we love about the southern side.
Yeah, despite the fact that it's all patched up.
Filthy.
And by chateau standards, this is a relatively small room. So it's about 8 foot by 13 feet or 2.5 metres by 4 metres.
Yeah.
And so what are our plans for this room?
So we briefly introduced this room last week for our YouTube video last week. This is going to be a first floor tisanerie, which is a tea room where family and friends who are staying on the first floor can come into this room, make a cup of tea or coffee without having to descend down to the ground floor.
Okay, so tisanerie, what's the origin of that word?
So the word tisane is a herbal tea, so it comes from that. So it's the perfect word to use to describe this room. It's a really 18th century concept, but completely fits in perfectly with our plan for this room.
Okay, and so from a furnishing perspective, how do you imagine it looking? How's it going to be set up?
Well, so this room was originally a domestic staff member's room, probably a very senior staff member's room because it has the fireplace.
Yep.
So we'll keep this beautiful fireplace, and there's a niche, and I think we should try and source a really beautiful mirror to fit in that niche.
Yep.
Here in the corner, I envisage some really beautiful Louis XVI epoch chairs, sort of armchairs with a coffee table where you can really sink in to the chair and enjoy your tea or coffee in the morning. And then over here, I was thinking it would be great to have a beautiful 18th century or antique buffet,
Yep.
a wooden buffet. I want the room to not feel like it's modern. I want it to really sit beautifully into the old bones of the chateau. So I really want to create a warm, welcoming space. So I think a wooden buffet would be really nice.
It's a tea room. It's not a kitchen. It's not a breakfast room.
Yeah.
So we want people to stop and relax and enjoy the space, not run in frantically, make their espresso and then kind of head off clutching their croissant.
Or like go back to bed on Sunday morning with your cup of tea if that's what you want to do.
Okay.
So our electrician and plumbers have been in and they've put in the plumbing and the electricity. So we have plumbed for a sink, which I think is going to be vital to the functionality of the room. So you can wash your cups and so on. Otherwise you have to go back down to the ground floor anyway.
Sort of defeats the purpose of the room, yeah.
And the integration of a sink is complicated, I think. Yeah. So either we try and integrate it into the antique piece of furniture or we have a wall-mounted sink or a freestanding sink. I haven't really come up with the right solution for that yet.
But we have to come up with something which doesn't make the room feel functional, that retains the elegance of the space.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what about the decorative designs themselves? It's got this wallpaper now, which was not original.
No.
It's not a very nice wallpaper.
No.
It was added in the 20th century at some stage. How would it have been decorated before that? Is there any hint?
It actually has a very small panel of wallpaper here.
Ah, it does too,
This wallpaper here is a faux wainscoting, and we see it on the second floor, so it's quite old. And then above it is a really beautiful burgundy wallpaper that we have not seen anywhere before. And I'm not sure if it's a frieze or if it's an actual wallpaper because then you can see another wallpaper above it.
Okay, yeah.
So obviously we'll take this plaster piece off and conserve that.
Yeah.
There's another trace of wallpaper right here, which is the burgundy again.
Okay, and it's got the burlap here, which...
Yeah.
So why does it have burlap
So
here?
because that's an external wall, so the burlap, the void behind the burlap created an insulation.
A protection against condensation.
Yeah, that too, yeah. So that's why.
Do you want to do a wallpaper in this room?
Yeah, I'd love to stick to wallpaper.
Okay.
So I've chosen 3 wallpapers for you to have a look at. These are all wallpapers from our Purnon Papers collection with Farrow and Ball. Mm-hmm. So there's 5 papers in the collection, but I think 3 are worth considering for this room. Okay. So the first is the Ashard. This is this beautiful geometric paper that we used in an ensuite here on the first floor. It was discovered here on the first floor. It's an original wallpaper to the chateau, 5 different colourways.
Okay. So it's a small pattern, so it's pretty busy for this space. We're trying to make something that's calm and relaxing.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yep.
So there's that option. The second option is the Auguste paper. This is a beautiful floral that is still in situ on the second floor, and we recently used it for a powder room, dressing room here on the first floor.
Okay.
I'm not really sure that a floral is the right look for this room. So the other option is a paper that was discovered in the attic here of the chateau, and it was on a ciel de lit.
So it was on a bed canopy?
It was on a bed canopy.
Yep.
And this paper I absolutely adore. And we then discovered that this is actually the wallpaper from Madame de la Motte Barrasset's bedroom on the ground floor. So this was the Marquis's mother who lived with the family and had her bedroom on the ground floor. And so it's a really beautiful big design, which I think could look really lovely in here. It could make this help open the space up a little bit.
Okay.
And there's this colour, these greens.
Okay. So these greens are very 18th century.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Yeah, I love that too.
I do love the pattern, and I also love the fact we haven't used this one before.
Yeah.
So we do love the Purnon papers, obviously, because they were inspired by motifs that were discovered here at the chateau.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to think that this paper will get a second life in this room.
Yeah.
I like it. I like the colour a lot.
So the Barrasset in the green.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you actually.
Okay, so the next step is we will sit down with our architect and put this to him and
Seek his approval.
And get his approval, our heritage architect. Great.
Yeah. And then the other things that need to happen in this room, well, there's a lot of things that need to happen in this room. Our stonemasons need to come and cover up the wall where we've put the plumbing and electricity to go up to the second floor for future use on the second floor. They need to relay the 18th century terracotta tiles, the tomettes.
Okay. The window here needs to be restored.
That needs to come out, be restored. The plaster is coming this week to have a look at the ceiling and see if we can retain the plaster or if we have to actually redo the plaster. If we can retain it, then it's just a matter of me getting up there and stripping it with the smart strip because it's all lead paint.
Yeah.
And there's these cupboards here that need a good clean out.
So these cupboards,
they're pretty practical.
They're bigger than you think, aren't they?
Yeah, it's quite huge actually.
And
that
then
space.
Oh,
okay.
That's
It did seem weird that it was on a strange angle.
That's unexpected. I wonder if that's a hint as to what was stored in the cupboard, that it needed to open from both sides. Yeah.
Or was it just so that it didn't create a dead space? I don't know.
Yeah. And then there's this smaller one down here. There we go.
Well, that's that'll be nice and handy. The spiders won't like losing their home.
Okay.
Okay, so let's measure it up so that I can place the wallpaper order with Farrow and Ball.
Okay.
35, 60, 225, 95, 15, 297, 3 metres. Well, things have really been moving ahead this week here in the Tizenry. As you can see, Tim has started removing all the old wallpaper. We can then start repairing these walls, and we'll do a skim coat, or probably two actually, because they are pretty rough walls indeed. We then need to also restore the 4 18th century burlap panels, which are on both of the external walls. Our architect has approved our choice of the wallpaper, which is wonderful. That beautiful barricade in the greens from Farrow and Ball from the Purnon Papers collection. That wallpaper has now been ordered. Our plasterer has been and advised that we need to keep the plaster that's on the ceiling, so we will now start looking at stripping that lead paint and restoring the ceiling and all the cornices around the ceiling. We have successfully sourced a beautiful 18th century buffet to sit on this wall right here, which means that now our electrician and plumber can come and embed all the electrical work and all the plumbing into the walls. We have found a solution for the sink. We are going to share it with you as this room comes together, and we cannot wait to share that with you. So the plumbers are coming on Monday to do all this work, and our stonemasons still need to come in and finish off this door and lay the Temet floor, but it is so exciting to have a new room underway for the start of this year, and it's going to be such a beautiful space. I cannot wait to keep working on it. Well, we are all systems go for the year, and we have also this week been doing a lot of work up in the first floor bibliothèque, our future library, which we have taken you on the journey of the creation of this room for the last 2.5 years, really. But this week the carpenters came back, they installed the architraves, which was their final piece that they needed to complete. We've been doing all the little touch-ups, and today Tim has started putting the shelves in, and this is something that you've been waiting to do for a long time.
Yeah, 100%. And we really hope that next week we'll be able to share that room with you, completely finished, fingers crossed. And we really are at that point in the restoration where we're starting to see that balance between historic preservation and heritage and balancing the needs of modern living. And so when we look at the rooms that we were focused on this week, on the one hand we had the billiard room, which has such historic significance at the chateau. Every detail is being carefully recaptured and restored, versus the Tizenry, which was originally really a butler's room. Yeah. And of course we have absolutely no need for a butler here at Château de Purnon. People would have originally taken their tisane or their herbal infusion or their coffee in their bed, probably served to them by a servant. That is nothing like our lifestyle today at Château de Purnon. So taking an old butler's bedroom and turning it into a room where we and our friends and guests can take a tea in the morning, or prepare a coffee, or sit down and relax in the afternoon as the sun shines through that window. It's really going to be a fabulous space, and it's a great way of taking those historic spaces in the chateau that we don't have a contemporary need for, and adapting them to the way we live these days. And that's really a great lead-in for this week's exclusive Patreon and YouTube members video, because in that exclusive video we go into a little bit more detail about how the heritage protection system works here at Château de Purnon, and we go into a little bit more detail about one of the rooms that we need to create that's absolutely essential for modern living, and where we couldn't use the space that was used at the end of the 18th century when the chateau was first constructed. So if you're interested, please have a look at that. that.
And also in other exciting news, we will be in Australia very briefly in March for events. We will be in Melbourne, Sydney and Perth, and we will bring all the details of those events to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, as always, if you would like to follow the restoration of Château de Purnon more closely, we post an exclusive weekly video for our YouTube and Patreon members. We post frequent updates on all our social media channels, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Otherwise, just click the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and we will keep you updated here. See you next week.